With two big meetings to discuss the future and fate of major concerns for the continent, a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine, and what to do about Greece's bailout. So on that, you might have heard him in the background. I want to bring in my guest for this half hour, the long-serving mayor of London, Boris Johnson, as I mentioned, a native New Yorker, author of the most recent book, which he just signed for me, The Churchill Factor. I'm going to get one.
Well remembered.
Yes. So, Mayor, great to see you.
Nice to see you, Betty.
This morning, I know you're on a tour, a 6-day tour here in the US.
We are. We're here to talk about London and New York and the investments that we're trying to attract to London. With some success, I'm proud to say that lots of American tech companies want to come and expand in our city, and that's very, very encouraging.
I'm glad to hear that.
We're talking up the advantages of coming to live and work in London. Because your place here is absolutely full.
You like?
With British talent. I can't believe it.
You know what? We just hired them today just to be with you, and then they're all gone tomorrow. Okay. So, Mayor, we're going to get, by the way, to the technology investment in London. But first, I got to ask you about Greece, right?
Sure.
So you've been highly critical of the bailout. You said Greece should never have joined the euro in the first place, but it's all too late. What to do now? What do you think is the best solution?
That's right. Well, I think it's very difficult because the real opponents of being nice to the Greeks and allowing them more loans and all the other lender countries taking a big haircut, as they say, are not just the Germans, but all those southern European countries, the Spanish, the Italians, the Portuguese, who've all been through this mangle themselves. And they think, you know, if we bail out the Greeks now, what's that going to say about the policies we've been pursuing?
Right.
What we've told our electorates about us being unable to do anything else. And so that's the real issue. If you give too much to the Greeks, then there will be a knock-on effect in the politics of all the other countries. Symmetrically.
So let them hang themselves?
Well, the trouble is, the alternative is possibly that you could get a Greek exit from the euro, and that would itself have a huge contagious impact. And I don't think myself there's any way you can insulate a Greek exit, a Grexit, from the
rest of the eurozone.
No. Because we saw in the collapse of the ERM in 1992 and previous experiments with linking the currencies that when one goes, they all tumble out. And I think if you unpick the bundle of wool, as it were, the whole thing will unravel.
So essentially, you're all in it together, right?
I think so. My basic hunch is, if I have a hunch, 70% of the Greek population want to remain in the euro. The entire Greek establishment wants to remain in the euro. Everybody in power in Europe basically reckons that there's nothing for it. They've got to try and keep this thing together. So I think they'll try and do a deal with Tsipras. I think they'll try and make an arrangement with
a bridge loan.
I think they'll shell out in some way or the other. I mean, I can't tell you exactly how it will be done, but I think that if I were sitting in Athens's place, I think I would feel my negotiating position was pretty strong.
But if you were in Germany and you're reading and seeing these comments coming out from Schäuble and from Merkel and others, I get the sense.
You mean the hardline stuff? Saying
right. I sense the opposite. Right. I mean, is that just posturing ahead of a meeting?
It's negotiation. I think that it's a very difficult situation, but I think there's going to be the way these euro things end is a huge amount of fudge all over the floor. Now, that's what's going to happen. That's
raising some ire within the UK, and you yourself have spoken out about this. In fact, I think you just wrote a column recently about this where why don't we get on with it, right? Why don't we get on with the referendum on membership in the EU for the Brits?
Yeah, I think it's very important to stress that this referendum, this renegotiation that the British are seeking under David Cameron and the Conservatives is not just a kind of narrow, parochial, xenophobe. You know, this isn't a chauvinistic, nationalistic thing. We think that changing Europe, trying to reform Europe, is a good idea for Europe as a whole, the whole area.
But not for the UK.
And for the UK.
Okay.
Because the eurozone is not the only problem in that area. You've also got a very anti-competitive regulation coming out of Brussels. If you had a more, a bit of reform, a more pragmatic free market approach, you might see more growth in that area. So from the point of view of American investors and the point of view of people who care about what's happening in the Eurozone, I think to have a referendum soon to get some change in the EU would be a good thing.
But why rush it, though? Why rush it? I mean, couldn't that?
Because I tell you why. Because you don't rush it, but you can get the changes you want pretty fast. You could get an agreement pretty fast. I think the reason for not delaying is just that you can. I know these Brussels negotiations. They can go on and on and on and on till the Greek calends, as it were.
Right.
And
so why not start it now?
You end up with the conclusion you first thought of. So why not knock it on the head? Get some reform of get them to agree. Less intrusion by Brussels, a self-denying ordinance by Brussels, a yellow card system to stop the EU Commission producing all sorts of unnecessary regulation.
But it's on the cards of a British exit from the EU.
No,
Brexit.
No, I think that a Brexit, so a British exit, is very unlikely. Provided we get a renegotiation, which is satisfactory, and I think we will.
I want to turn to security,
yes.
Right? Because I read several of your columns, your Telegraph columns, and one of them in particular right after the Charlie Hebdo attack,
yes.
where you actually took to task some of the British media for being too tight-lipped or tongue-tied when it came to airing or publishing the cartoons of Muhammad, of the Prophet Muhammad, and one of the reasons, Mayor, is that there is this great fear, right, of who are the jihadists that are lurking in the background. Okay, so I want to show you just some numbers that we pulled up. Very surprising to me. Okay, we've had about 100 in the U.S. here. Boris, 100 fighters go to join Islamic State. In the UK, 600 have joined. France, 1,200. The European Union overall, 300 citizens. I'm sorry, 3,000 citizens gone from Europe to fight with Islamic State. What are you doing about this?
Well, the first thing is to demystify these guys. They are not some kind of special spooky cadre or sect of people who are engaged in something we don't understand. They're basically, many of them, young men, and they're principally young men who are alienated, who are disaffected, and they're the kind of kids, actually, who would get involved in all sorts of criminality if they had the chance. They're the kind of people who might get involved in drug gangs or whatever. The first thing to do is to have a serious criminal approach, to survey them, to make sure that you know what's going on, that you're monitoring their conversations.
Well, you said anybody who joins is presumed guilty.
Correct. Well, when they come back, absolutely.
And when they come back, presumed guilty.
Absolutely,
okay.
Presumed guilty. And the second thing is to engage with their communities and to be in there and say, look, this stuff is nonsense, and obviously encourage the Muslim leaders to show that it's intellectually complete nonsense to think that this has anything to do with Islam and so on. They must be fortified in that critique of what is happening. But it is very, very important to recognise.
Well, how worried?
If you have that approach, a very tough criminal justice approach, and outreach, you can deal with it. Now, it involves a lot of work. It involves a lot of police work, a lot of surveillance. But I think, if I may say, I've been slightly struck by some of the commentary I've seen in American politics about parts of Britain, as it were, being no-go zones or whatever.
Exactly,
that is complete nonsense. I mean, really, truly nonsense. Some of these people who are saying this are in need of gentle education about...
Maybe...
No. I mean, genial education about what it's like in our cities. And I invite all these people who speak of no-go zones to come to London. I will happily take them round and
show them that there are no no-go zones.
No no-go. And London is a fantastically integrated city. The whole thing is jumbled up.
And you met with our NYPD Police Commissioner, Bill Bratton, right?
I'm about to.
You're about to?
I've met him several times before, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So what would you like to learn from? Are you going to share intel? What are you exactly?
Well, I think that the thing that interests me is how you monitor a substantial number of people in a community like New York, and obviously New York doesn't have exactly the same type of problems that London has. It has a variety of different problems. We share many characteristics as great cities. London and New York have hugely mixed populations. We have the same kind of socio-economic diversity. to be fair, I'm going to put it out there. We've managed to get our murder rate down to about, under 100 for the first time in 40 years. New York's is coming down fast too, but it's coming down fast, but there's a big difference. I think New York is about 400 deaths a year or 380 deaths, murders a year, and the reason for that, in my view, is gun crime, and there's a big difference in our attitude to guns and our attitude to gun control here.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
But on the surveillance of possible malefactors, I'm very interested to hear what Bill has to say.